Sup, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Flea Flicker. I am Timmy B, joined by the amazing Joey D over there. Joey D, we only have one more real football game. We do have the Pro Bowl this weekend, but one more real football game. But hey, it's the Super Bowl. We know who is playing. We got the Bengals versus the Rams. Joey D, how are you doing today?
Tim, I'm doing good. It was a fun weekend of football. I
Ooh,
got one of my two picks right. My guy
same.
Joe Burrow, let's go. Love to see it. So it wasn't the pick that I was expecting to get right, honestly. I felt a lot better about my pick of the 49ers over the Rams than the Bengals over the Chiefs, but that's the NFL, baby. I love it.
That's the
That's what we're
NFL.
here for.
Yeah, and we both split. You went with the Bengals. I went with the Chiefs. You went with the 49ers. I went with the Rams. So we each got a win, and that puts you at an even 6-6 in the playoffs with your picks, Joe. And I'm 10-2. So good news is I'll have a pretty good record. But Joe, you got to get the Super Bowl pick right to be above 500. And I have a good
We'll see
feeling
what
of who you
happens.
might be picking in that game. But before we get started recapping those two games, Joe, first of all, we got a little bit of news. But first, like and subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, all that fun stuff. Two big pieces of news today, Joe, that came out on the day we're recording this Tuesday. Number one, Tom Brady officially retires. There is speculation on, I believe, Saturday that he was going to do it, a Friday, Saturday. The report kind of leaked, but no official word from Tom Brady. And then people were saying, well, maybe he won't be retiring. Maybe because of this, out of spite, he'll play one more year. But then today on Instagram, he made a nice post. Didn't include the Patriots in it, but he thanked Tampa Bay, thanked all some players and coaches,
I think
and
I think he eventually thanked the
he
Patriots.
eventually did, yes, but in the original post he didn't. And then
Right.
I think the Patriots released a statement. And he was like, "Oh yeah, like thanks to you guys." So maybe he was playing it off. Who knows? But that is the big news of the day. And we talked about it last week after they lost, and we both said we wouldn't be surprised. I think we both said that. We think he'll play another year. I believe that's what we said, but we wouldn't be surprised. But now it's official, Joe. So, what are your thoughts on Tom Brady officially retiring from the NFL?
Yeah, shout out to a legend,
Mhm.
truly the greatest of all time. And, we're lucky to have been able to experience him like, throughout his prime and throughout these last couple years at our age, Tim. And,
Mhm.
it's been a really fun ride, not so much for, a lot of AFC East teams. I know the Jets tweeted out something like, "Are we sure this is legit? This is real?"
Yeah.
Something like that. I know the fans of those teams are glad to see him gone, but you know, you never. It's always a weird feeling when someone like that retires and leaves the game forever. I mean, Peyton, Brady now, Eli to a lesser degree, Roethlisberger, Rivers, Breeze, just truly the end of an era. And
Mhm.
it's crazy that it's finally here, but the league is in good hands. The AFC is loaded with really
Whew.
good quarterbacks, while the
NFC needs a
NFC is
little bit of work.
kind of wide open though. It's
Yeah.
not great, but it's kind of wide open. So I'm all right with the way it's looking right now. There's always hope for a lowly Philadelphia Eagles fan such as myself, Tim. So I'm glad that the Eagles will be the last time Tom Brady lost in the Super Bowl. It was to the Eagles.
Mhm.
A lot of great memories there in that game, and it's just kind of crazy that now it's done, and he's gone, Tim. That's it.
Yeah, and there's still a part of me that is kind of like, you know what? Until it's week one next year and Tom Brady is not in pads on the sideline, taking some snaps, there's still going to be that little part of me who's going to be like, I'm not ruling it out. But once it
He can
becomes,
still
he
play.
can still play. I mean, he'll probably be second in MVP voting unless everybody pulls that Chicago journalist and is like, all right, I just won't vote for Rodgers. But he'll be second in MVP voting, broke a bunch of records, but I think it is kind of time. And as I said, in that first half against the Rams game, you could kind of be like, this. I'm getting a little old. You saw a couple more flashes of that in the past couple of seasons. Still playing at an elite level. It's not like Peyton Manning in his final years, or even a Ben Roethlisberger or Philip Rivers, where it's kind of like, yeah, you should probably retire there, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a legend, and very fortunate that we live in such a golden age. I mean, our generation, Joe, we missed out on Michael Jordan. Fortunately, we do have LeBron, and we had Kobe as well. Rest in peace. I mean, but we've seen, you know, And then older generations had like Montana and Aikman and Terry Bradshaw. And it's very nice that we
Right.
had Brady and Manning and all that stuff. So definitely a legend. And there's a lot of good quarterbacks out there in the AFC, but the NFC still needs a little bit of work, Joe. But, you know, and as I said when I was drinking the Panthers Kool-Aid, you know, Tom is only there for so long in Tampa. And now you look at, the Saints are just down the toilet. Falcons got some young pieces, but an older quarterback in Matt Ryan. So that's why I was kind of like, now is a good time for the Panthers to kind of build up. But enough about that, Joe. We got plenty of offseason to talk about all that mumbo jumbo. So congratulations to Tom Brady on officially retiring. And Lamar Jackson's 1-0 against Tom Brady. But besides that, the second big news.
Nick Foles is undefeated against
That
Tom
is
Brady.
true. Nick Foles is undefeated. But week 9 in the regular season, Joe, or week 10 is a little bit better than the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. So
I'll take what I can get.
Absolutely. But the second big piece of news just happened like basically right as we were planning on recording tonight. Brian Flores, the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, is suing the NFL, the Dolphins, the Giants, and now the Broncos are thrown in his little lawsuit and everything like that for, racism while hiring and tanking with the Dolphins. Obviously, it just broke about an hour ago, so I don't know terribly too much about the story, Joe. But yeah, he was saying that the Dolphins owner offered him $100,000 per loss so they could tank for Tua. Fortunately, they still got Tua, but apparently he was really upset that Brian Flores was successful not only in his first year, but after that as well. I mean, back-to-back winning seasons. Once he got fired, we all were kind of like, Miami doesn't have a lot of back-to-back winning seasons, Joe. So it was kind of a fishy hire. Then everybody thought he was the favorite for the Giants job. Bill Belichick got involved with a couple of text messages being like, yeah, I've heard from Buffalo and the Giants that you're the guy. And Brian was like, what do you mean? I interview on Thursday. I think you got me confused with Brian Dabble. Are you trying to tell me something, coach? And Bill Belichick's text was like, whoops, I fucked up. My bad. So that's crazy, Joe. That is absolutely crazy. Didn't look too much into the Broncos involvement, but they were thrown in there. I guess maybe they were trying to interview him or whatever back in 2019.
I think in 2019 when he sat down for an interview with them, John Elway and I think another like executive with the Broncos showed up to the interview like an hour late, super disheveled, and I think his words were that they had obviously been drinking the night before, and it was just kind of like a sham of an interview just to meet the Rooney Rule requirement.
Yeah. And he has a case. There's no denying that. I think he does have a case. Will he win? No. I mean, a lot of times there's lawsuits against the NFL, and NFL wins a lot more times than the little person or little guy. But there is a case, and you go, Joe, you go.
Well, my wife Brooke used to work at the South Carolina bar and was looking up some of the lawyer talk online, and I guess what is the most likely scenario is that the NFL would just settle outside of court so that none of these facts have to come to light, if the allegations are true and there is evidence of it. So it's unfortunate that this is such a common type practice that it seems to just get brushed by the wayside a lot. And now a really good head coach candidate and just good all around dude, and Brian Flores is now potentially locking himself out of other head coaching opportunities because of this. So it's something where it takes a lot of courage to kind of stand alone and risk your career to try to help others. But it's a very, very commendable thing to do, and it's, in my opinion, it's just so unfortunate that something like this has to happen for there to be real change. And I really hope there is. But again, at the end of the day, this is, kind of something we already knew goes on behind closed doors in the NFL. So I don't know how much change really can come of this, but he does have a lot of points to be made. And, he's a great head coach. He should absolutely be considered more favorably for a lot of these positions than he has. And, it's just very unfortunate that this is kind of what it comes to.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, and you see, a guy like Bieniemy in Kansas City, he was the hot head coaching candidate the last couple of years. And he's like, no, 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 I'll stay here and coach Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. But again, not a name you've heard this offseason with so many head coaching openings and things like that. And of course, if you turn down head coaching for 2 or 3 straight seasons after coaching Mahomes, it's like kind of like get the message, but still it's kind of like he's still coaching Mahomes. He's still a very successful offensive coordinator. And with this specifically, I understand, where Flores is coming from. But when you have Brian Dable, a hot offensive coordinator, taking interviews for head coaches, and then a team who needs a head coach also hires the GM of the team where he just was, it's kind of like, all right, like Dable is the favorite, but because he was the favorite based on Bill Belichick's text and the guy before Flores, the text was like, yeah, interview Thursday. I have a real good shot. And Belichick was like, yeah, dude, congrats. I heard from Buffalo and the Giants that you're the guy. And he was like, wait, what? Like, so I definitely things
Yeah,
will be changing.
very shady.
Yeah, and definitely going to be looking into some more things as we discuss this next week and as it unfolds a little bit more. So I guess also breaking news. I mean, but by the time you guys watch this, it'll be a day late. But hey, breaking news on the Flea Flicker. And then we do have a couple of coaching hires and things like that. We decided that we'll wait until next week, kind of right in between the Super Bowl. We'll talk about everything we've missed for the last couple of weeks: new defensive coordinators, new special teams, new GMs, new head coaches. Who's interviewing still? Jim Harbaugh apparently will be interviewing with the Minnesota Vikings, which would be an interesting hire for sure. So we'll cover all that next week as we're kind of in that awkward, not quite the Super Bowl, but we're still talking football. But anyways, Joe, we got to recap the conference championship games. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Timmy B. Let's get into it.
All right, let's hop into it. The AFC Championship game, as we said, the Cincinnati Bengals won, and everybody, just as predicted, the Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Joe definitely didn't expect that at the beginning of the season. Definitely saw the talent of Joe Burrow getting Jamar Chase and everything like that, but we kept saying like next year's probably the year. Next year, well, it's this year. They defeat the Chiefs 27-24 in overtime. Chiefs went up 21-3, could have gone up 24-3 or even 28-3, Joe, but they failed to score at the end of the first half key plays. And then Cincinnati defense, much like in their first matchup where the Chiefs went up big, a couple of scores rather quickly, they made those second half adjustments. They only rushed 3 or 4 and dropped 7 or 8 into coverage. They got to Mahomes with only 3 or 4 guys against that Chiefs offensive line and really put him under a lot of pressure. And then in overtime, Chiefs won the coin toss. Everybody celebrated like they just won the Super Bowl, 3 and out. And they threw an interception on third down, but basically got to the same place with the punt. Basically, Cincinnati got the ball at their own 40 or 45. And then, they threw the ball to T. Higgins a couple of times, couple of first downs. They were in field goal range, and they were like, all right, we'll just run it for a couple of plays. And then Joe Mixon was like, all right, bet I'm going to run for 25 yards right now to make this a 20-yard field goal and not a 55. So the Cincinnati Bengals do end up winning. Joe Burrow also running around all game long with that Chiefs excellent defensive line and the Bengals offensive line struggling. But he used his legs more, ran for a couple key first downs on a couple of those final drives on third down to elongate the drives, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand. But Joey D, Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. Who day, baby? Who day? Joey D, your thoughts from this game?
Who day? I mean, it's just an incredible season and game by the Bengals. I mean, just kind of emblematic of what they've done the last couple of years, having to overcome adversity to get to where they are now. I mean,
Yeah.
Down by, what'd you say? It was 21.
It was 21-3 at halftime. Yeah.
21-3 at half, and nothing has been going well for you on offense. Defense can't really seem to get a stop until halftime, and then to just completely flip the script in the second half. I mean, that's, again, on paper, it doesn't make sense, Tim. This defense, they are not loaded with talent, but it's just great coaching and great execution. So I think that D coordinator definitely deserves some consideration for a head coaching opportunity if he isn't getting some already.
And we're seeing how important, and Joe, as we know, having Ed Reed, the best safety in the history of the NFL, and Brian Dawkins, a top 5 safety in the NFL, with a guy like Jesse Bates, just how important it is to have that like team captain at the back of your defense at safety. because we're not going to lie, the Eli Apple is not the greatest cornerback in the league, Joe. Needless to
No.
say, but when you have a guy like Jesse Bates behind you, calling those plays, pointing things out, that's really underrated, and we're seeing that. I mean, look at Harrison Smith. Look at a guy like Eric Weddle. Look at a guy like Chuck Clark. You got to have some intellect back there at safety, and maybe we'll put Brian Dawkins in the top three. But it just goes to show you that if you have a guy like that, you have a guy like Trey Hendrickson on the line, you can stop this offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how much they were able to, though. I mean, Patrick
Mhm,
Mahomes definitely seemed like he was pressing that entire second half after that failed conversion at the end of the first half,
mhm.
and just never got comfortable again. I mean, you know, turnovers, punts, just no yards at all in that second half. I mean, I know his stats were just atrocious, and to allow the Bengals to do this, and then in overtime, the intercept. I mean, even before that, when they got down into field goal range and they just running around and he
Yeah, I mean,
fumbled. I
I mean,
mean,
I even texted you. I was like, "My goodness, I thought Lamar doesn't throw the football away," which he doesn't. We'll talk about that in offseason mode. But I was like, "Dude, just throw." Like it went from like a 15-yard chip shot to like a 30, like an extra point, basically.
yeah,
And like that's it's never a guarantee, even with a fantastic kicker like Harrison Butker. But it was like, dude, just throw the ball away, like and like just take the 0 yards instead of -6 or turnover. And when he fumbled that one, Joe, oh my God, could you imagine if the Bengals picked that up? Oh man,
I know. And but then he throws the interception in overtime after, like you said, everyone, including both of us, assumed, all right, game's over now. Mahomes is now going to
yeah.
do his Mahomes thing, and he was pressing still. I mean, it was a fantastic play by Jesse Bates, breaking it up and allowing Von Bell to get the
And even
interception.
even the play before on second down, Eli Apple almost had the game-winning
Yeah,
interception.
yeah,
Was right in his hands. And then, like I don't. I was talking to my dad about this because I was watching it with him. It's like it's 3rd and 10. Why are you throwing it 40 yards down the field? Just have Kelsey run 10 yards and turn around and throw it to him. It's like,
exactly.
especially where they were. Now, if they were at their own 40 or maybe midfield, sure, go take a shot in the end zone and then pin them back at, with inside the 10. But if that was an interception, like I said, you're still probably punting to their 35 or 40 where they basically started their drive after the return. So it's like, why are we trying to do that on 3rd and 10?
Yeah. And I thought this game was a good example of why the overtime rules do work. I mean, if you play defense, you'll get the ball back, and then all you need is a field goal to win.
Right.
Just don't allow them to go down the field and score a touchdown in one drive. I mean, it's football is not just offense. I know everybody wants it to be, and that's what the league is going to now. And it's both teams should get the chance to get the ball, but it's not just quarterback versus quarterback.
Yeah.
Like this, the defenses, the special teams, all of this comes into play. And the Bengals were the complete team in this game for an extra quarter in overtime when they needed to be. I mean, and the Chiefs were not. The offense didn't do anything, but then the Chiefs defense couldn't get a stop to keep them out of field goal range, and eventually gave up so many yards to allow a chip shot. So, this is, to me, I don't hate the overtime rules as much as everyone else, and I think this is a good example of why it can and should be able to work as long as your defense just isn't incompetent.
Yeah, and as I said last week about the overtime rules too, where maybe in a game like this, or as I said, if it's the Dolphins and the Jets and it's 6-6, yeah, we're all going to be like, somebody just fucking score and end this game. Like I don't want to like 9-6 in overtime. I think the point was last week was that no defense was dominant. The Bills won the coin toss. We're talking about the Bengals and the Bills playing this past Sunday, and the Chiefs won the coin toss. Nobody was stopping. I mean, there was like 5 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of that game. So yes, but look at all the other sports. Like you mentioned, Joe, basketball plays, 8-10 minute period, whatever that time is. Hockey does a five in the playoffs, excuse me. They just do a full period. It is sudden death, but obviously more often than not, both teams will have at least a chance to shoot the puck. In baseball, you play the whole inning. The road team goes up to first. They score a couple of runs. Great. Now the home team knows that they need to score 2 runs or 3 runs or whatever. So it's just weird that football is the only sport where still both teams still aren't having an opportunity offensively to win the game, like in like obviously in basketball, in soccer, in hockey, in baseball, your offense still has an opportunity to do, either win the game or put up some points. And I think that's kind of what the argument is, where it's like, yeah, the
Yeah,
bank,
no, I get it. I get it. I
right?
mean, I just feel like, this game, like the way this overtime went, it the Bengals had to overcome even the coin toss in order to
Yeah,
win this game.
yeah. But and then on the
And
flip
they did.
side, though, the way the Chiefs offense was playing in that second half, I get that they won the coin toss and they were celebrating, but they were moving the ball too well. Like,
Right,
and
right. No,
I don't think that they would have gone down to score a touchdown. I mean, maybe they could have gotten a field goal, put together a nice drive, and maybe have gone 6 or 7 minutes to give the Bengals only 2.5 minutes to kick it. Oh no, in the playoffs it's a 15 minute. My dad pointed that out, and I was like, oh, that is 15 minutes. But still, yeah,
yeah.
the Chiefs could have gone down. I don't know if they would have scored a touchdown though, but I think they could have gotten a field goal. But it's just the way the game was going, and that's why everybody threw a fit last week because it was just touchdown, 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 touchdown. Whereas this one, it was like Bengals score, force a punt, Bengals score again, Bengals take the lead, Chiefs tie it. So it wasn't like a bang, 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 bang. Yeah, So
I
I get
mean,
it.
all it takes is one defensive play, Tim.
Sure,
I
sure.
remember a certain Super Bowl where Nick Foles and Tom Brady were going touchdown, touchdown, field goal, all game long. I don't think there was a punt that entire game
No,
actually. Um, and at the very end, the biggest play was made by Brandon
Derek,
Graham, forcing the fumble and recovering it for the Eagles
yeah.
defense against Tom Brady. I mean, sometimes it just takes one play, and if your defense cannot make a single play last week in 13 seconds or this week in a whole overtime, I mean, Bengals defense made a play. That's
No,
all they need to
absolutely.
do.
Yeah. I'm not
Like, come on.
disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying I still firmly believe that both offensives should have the opportunity to put up points. That's it. And hey, it
I
happened
hear you.
this time, and the Bengals, fortunate because then again you're thinking, all right, all we need to do is stop them and we win this game based on how the game was going. So, anyways, back to the game itself. Obviously, I mentioned the big play of the game or big moment. End of the first half, Chiefs are within the 5, and there's like 6, 7, 8 seconds left. So
I think it
it's
was 5 I think it was 5
5
seconds.
seconds. All right. But so 5 seconds, it's third down. And nobody was open. So they threw it to Tyreek in the flat to see if he could make some moves. Eli Apple made a great tackle, and then the clock ran out. Even if you kick a field goal there, Joe, it's 24-3. We're probably not talking about this game going into overtime. Or
Yeah.
maybe we don't know. But anyways, that to me that was just such a dumb play call. I understand that there was 5 seconds, but you have like two guys just take 3 steps in the end zone, turn around. If they aren't open, launch it out of bounds, kick a field goal. Like,
Exactly.
and I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, you got to get the points when you can get points.
Well, that's why I don't say it's a bad play call. I put it on Mahomes. I mean, it's if the guys Tyreek was obviously like he worked through the progression
Yeah, he
and
was the
came back to
emergency guy.
Tyreek
Yeah,
as
he
the
was the
check
emergency
down.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like don't hit the check down. Like throw it out of the end zone, throw it at his feet.
yeah.
Like
Throw it
just
at his
make
feet.
sure,
Yeah,
just just clock it. If the look's not there, don't allow a turnover, don't allow a completion inbounds. I mean, he did. It was a brain fart moment from, someone that we all consider being an elite quarterback, but he looked very, very human on Sunday. And, you know, he'll be back. I mean, Chiefs will be back. We all know that, but, not a good game at all from Mahomes, when, he needs to bring his A game. I mean, you can't play good for 1 3/4 of a game.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, you got to be able to finish that first half and go into the locker room with some sort of positive momentum, even if it's a field goal. I mean, getting the stop there, that just gave the Bengals so much positive momentum going into halftime. I mean, they're down 21-3, but still that's a huge play that they made, and now they're feeling good about themselves, and they came out and they executed.
yeah, yeah. And it was huge as well. I'm sorry, my apologies, Joe. It was 21-10 at halftime. They had the Bengals scored a touchdown with a minute left, but still, Chiefs go down in a minute. Now you're looking at 24-10, two touchdowns, or 28-10. And then you see it in the second half, 21-13, 21-21 going into the fourth quarter, 24-21, and then 24-24. So had that have been 24-10, if they just kicked a field goal, now you're looking at Harrison Butker kicking the game-winning field goal as time expires in the fourth quarter, and not the tying field goal. And obviously that
Right.
changes. We don't know what would happen in the second half had they scored a touchdown or had they kicked a field goal. That's up to interpretation. But then also on the Bengals, they played Bengals football and they did exactly what you needed to do against this Kansas City Chiefs team. Joe Burrow had an early interception, but that was about it. Did not turn the ball over. He made smart throws, 23 of 38, 250, but Joe Mixon, 88 yards. They utilized T. Higgins. And some whoever was on part of my take the other day, they mentioned that about Gabriel Davis saying, hey, or it was Julian Edelman. Bills going into the Chiefs game. I'm sure Dabble went to Stephon Diggs and was like, you're going to be the decoy. You're going to be double covered. And then went to Gabriel Davis and was like, you're the guy today. And I would imagine Cincinnati did the same with T. Higgins, being like, hey, Jamar Chase is going to be the guy. He's going to be double covered. You're going to be open. You got to win your single coverages. And that's exactly what happened. 6 catches for 103 yards, but they didn't turn the ball over. Not too many turnovers on Cincinnati's side. Kansas City had 2 turnovers. Obviously, that won in overtime. So they played the way that you need to beat the Chiefs, not turn the ball over, smart throws, short throws, work your way down the field. They were up about 6 minutes on time of possession as well. And that's what it takes. And then, yeah, you need a couple of defensive stops, and they were able to get it. And as we mentioned with Tom Brady, they got pressure onto the quarterback, only rushing 3 or 4 guys, which allows them to drop back 7 or 8 in coverage. And that's where, Brady and Mahomes are so good. When you blitz 7 or 8 guys, they have a guy who's wide open. So Bengals did exactly what they needed to do to win this game, and much deserving of being in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a cool story, and it can inspire a lot of other fan bases and teams. When you think about, just 2 years ago,
Mhm.
they had the number one overall pick, and they get Joe Burrow, and then last year they win 4 games, and they get Jamar Chase, and those two draft picks completely, changed the trajectory of this franchise, and that can happen. If with the Jags, they got Trevor.
And
Who
we know
knows what
why
could
now we
happen
know
from
why the
there?
Dolphins owner was offering $100,000 for
That's
losing a
right, because
decade.
he really wanted Joe Burrow. He clearly really wanted Joe Burrow, and he could have even gotten Justin Herbert, and instead they went with Tua. So, kind of serves him right there. But man, Joe Burrow just absolutely. We talked about how he was able to overcome the 9 sacks last week, and that showed us that this man cannot be rattled. The pressure is not going to get to him. It doesn't matter if he's away and dealing with all the fans. If he's down, 21 points, however many points it is. I mean, he finds a way to win, and just stay cool, calm, and collected throughout, and just do his job at a really high level. And man, just really really fun to watch. And I'd be pretty nervous, Tim, if I were you as a
I
Ravens
know
fan,
I
because
am.
that's
I mean, hell,
not looking great.
he threw for like 600 yards in both of our games this year. But hey, you know what, Joe? It must be something about AFC quarterbacks named Joe going on the road in the AFC Championship game to a juggernaut of a team like the Patriots or the Chiefs or whoever, and coming out victorious, especially with the rookie kicker. But anyways, as I texted you Sunday night, just shows how important a franchise quarterback can be, and that kind of transitions into the NFC Championship game where the Los Angeles Rams beat the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 20-17, a field goal with about a minute left by the Rams. And then Jimmy G did his best Carson Wentz impression
Yep.
and threw an interception late in the game to seal the victory. LA Rams, second team, back-to-back seasons playing a home or Super Bowl in their home stadium, excuse me. The Rams get it done. Stafford hit Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp had a huge drop, but then redeemed himself with a couple of big catches and runs late in the fourth quarter. And then once again, kind of came down to the quarterback play. And we saw that against the Packers. Jimmy G was just lobbing it up there. It was
Yeah.
only a matter of time before one got intercepted, and one got intercepted. But Joey D, thoughts on this 49ers Rams NFC Championship game? Kind of went as expected. I think we all kind of thought it would be a 20-17, 23-20 type of game. Obviously, we saw Debo getting a good touchdown. Just amazing. Gave it his all on the field, of course. The 49ers defense made some good plays, dropped interceptions on both sides by that safety
Yeah.
Tart on 49ers. Jalen Ramsey could have had basically a pick six, but it bounced off his shoulder late in the game as well. But at the end of the day, Matt Stafford was able to move the ball and put his team in the Super Bowl. So, Joe, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to is when you don't have a top quarterback, your team's margin for error is much more slim.
Yeah.
So, that interception, that dropped interception by Tart at the end of the game, I mean, that's the play that the 49ers needed in this game. I mean, they
Mhm.
beat the Packers without an offensive touchdown. They had a blocked field goal and a blocked punt, so their special teams and defense stepped up, like crazy in that game. And I thought they played a pretty good game. I mean, holding them to 20 points, that's pretty
Yeah.
solid, not bad at all, especially against the Rams. But again, like that margin for error is so much slim when you have a quarterback like Jimmy G. Now
Mhm.
there's a minute left, and you have to go down and get in the field goal range and make that play. That's just not where he thrives. I mean, that's not the type of situation where you want to put that on Jimmy G's shoulders. So that guy's got to make that play versus
Mhm.
Jalen Ramsey drops the interception. Matt Stafford, we know he's going to be able to go down and in the clutch and have fourth quarter comebacks. I mean, that's what he's done his entire
Mhm.
career, and he has Cooper Cup and OBJ to throw to. It's just tough, and a lot of this game was interesting. Like a lot of Eagles fans were talking about how one side is like, oh well, like we need to go like the Rams and trade for a Russell Wilson and go all in on at the quarterback position to make it to the NFC Championship and be competing. While the other side is like, no, like Jalen Hurts is fine, like he's good enough to win games with. So we just need to build a good team around him. I don't and I understand those two philosophies, but I just don't understand how you can honestly believe that, having the lesser quarterback gives you the better chance to succeed. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Look at Joe Burrow and the Bengals. It's an elite quarterback elevating that entire team.
Yeah. And no
Matt
different than
Stafford.
like Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers either.
Exactly. And I mean, Matt Stafford coming in and being an upgrade over Jared Goff is why they went out and traded for him. And I mean, this is why the 49ers went out and traded up to go get a Trey Lance because they know that Jimmy G is not the quarterback for these moments. So it's unfortunate. Um, again, if the defense makes that interception, then we might be talking about Jimmy G going to a second Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you can win those kind of quarterbacks. I mean, we saw Nick Foles do it. We've seen Trent Dilfer do it. Joe Flacco did
Yeah,
it.
we're keeping Joe Flacco out of this one, but that's kind of my point too. It's just that's how important having a franchise quarterback is. And yes, Jimmy G went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but that was a very defensive 49ers team, and that defense was a little
Exactly.
bit better than this year's. Trent Dilfer had the 2000 Ravens, one of the best defenses in the history of the NFL. I mean, hell, you can even look at like an Eli Manning Giants team against those
Yes.
Patriots. Their defense was good. And again, Eli just didn't turn the ball over, made the right throws, had a couple of decent, great pass. That one pass to Manningham in 2012,
Yeah.
unbelievable pass. But it goes to show you that, yes, you can win with a potential Trent Dilfer, Jimmy Garoppolo, etc. But you need a very elite defense or a very hot defense. And the 49ers defense this year was still very good, very, very good. But 2 years ago, that was like the best defense in the NFL. Robert Saleh, not discrediting D'Amico Ryans or anything like that, but it just wasn't at that level to propel
And
Jimmy
even
G.
and even then, that defense still was not enough to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it ultimately came down to Jimmy G missing that deep pass to Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, we look at the conference championship games, 3 out of the 4 quarterbacks I'd say are above average quarterbacks that are going to elevate you. And the one Jimmy G, he lost. He didn't do his part to elevate the team. I mean, the touchdown to Debo, was on a screen.
Yeah.
The defense was putting them in good position most of the game. He had the one drive that ended with the touchdown to George Kittle, who was wide open in the end zone. I mean, how much of this was really on Jimmy G's shoulders? I mean, and let's just believe what the coaches are showing us, what the teams are showing us. They do their best to
Mhm.
protect Jimmy G with their play calls. They don't want him to have to throw it 30 times a game. I mean, they're a very run heavy team, screen heavy team to try to not ask Jimmy G to make those kind of throws. They traded up to go get Trey Lance. I mean, clearly they believe that in order to legitimately contend, they need an elite quarterback. So if their own team believes that, then why are we arguing about this?
And
Like,
like
why
and,
do people debate
and
this?
another great example is the Rams. Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl, and of course, that was McVay's genius offense. They had a great running game with Todd Gurley,
Gurley,
a
yep,
very elite defense, and they made it to the Super Bowl. And then they ran into a Bill Belichick defense and only put up 3 points. So now it's like, all right, now we went and got Matt Stafford, especially after previous couple seasons of Jared Goff being like, oh, right, yeah, he's not that good. And then getting that Matt Stafford type of guy has elevated that team. So yes, while you can get there with Jimmy G, you need that next step. And obviously, the front office traded up to number 2 or 3 to get Trey Lance. Like, as you said, to me, that's saying we don't believe in Jimmy G. And they kind of saw that this year. I mean, they were the number 6 seed, won a couple of games, not because of Jimmy
right.
G, because of the defense and some blocked kicks here and there. So yeah, absolutely, Joe, absolutely. But I think the Lions and the Browns need to play this weekend. And how the fuck do we fuck up Matt Stafford and Odell Beckham Jr.? I mean,
Yeah,
if the Rams win the Super Bowl, if I'm Roger Goodell, I'm forcing the Lions owners to sell the team. Which also breaking news: the Broncos are now up for sale. I saw that as well right before we start recording. Joe, if you
yeah.
guys want to pull together, I think we need probably like $4 billion.
Something like that. I'll talk to Brooke and see what our joint checking account's looking like. But I don't think she wants to purchase the Broncos these days. Not at the moment. Too much orange in them.
Yeah, that is. Well, if we're the owners, we can make whatever colors we want.
She said, "What was that, Brooke? You would." Yeah, the Bengals are enough orange for her, so she'd
Yeah.
consider the Bengals, even though they are tigers and orange. But you know, I, she doesn't want to get into it. Obviously, the number one choice is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right, right, right. Well, we'll wait for them to be for sale. But Joe, any I guess kind of final or maybe lingering thoughts from this Rams 49ers game? I mean, again, like the score is 20-17, but for the entire game, we were just kind of like, all right, cool. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm happy for Matt Stafford. Him,
yeah.
Aaron Donald. Those guys. They work really hard and deserve to get the respect and a championship opportunity. Yeah, I just don't like Sean McVay. I mean, even in this game, Tim, I mean,
Mhm.
all three of his timeouts and both of his challenges were
Yeah.
gone with 10 minutes left in the fourth. I mean, he completely botched time management in this game and just got lucky. He got bailed out. I mean, if they were facing a better quarterback than Jimmy G, they'd probably lose. So, I don't know. I feel like Sean McVay is overrated, and you know, I just don't see it. I mean, they've done a great job putting a lot of talent together, and they're executing at a really high level. But I don't know. I think Joe Burrow's the truth, Tim.
Well,
I'm much more excited to see what happens there.
Well, hey, so now we got the Bengals and the Rams in the Super Bowl. Right now, the Rams are a 4-point favorite. Over unders like 49 or 50 or whatever, but we're not making our pick now. But now, Joe, it's 2 days after the championships happened. It's now Tuesday afterwards. So, for a little sneak preview on next week's episode, what we'll do is we'll recover all some free agents, coaching changes, this, that. We'll also talk about some Super Bowl headlines. But as a little sneak preview, Joe, before we do our preview and our picks next week, what's something that you're excited to see in this Bengals Rams matchup?
I'm excited to see Jamar Chase versus Jalen Ramsey. I think that's going to be an awesome matchup. And also, I'm excited to see Aaron Donald against Joe Burrow. I mean, one of the best plays from the Bengals Chiefs game was when Joe Burrow was able to escape the pocket as it was collapsing and elude Chris Jones, who was diving after him, and he kind of jumped over his outstretched arm. So a play like that against Aaron Donald and the Rams might be a little more difficult, but Joe Burrow is the kind of guy able to make those plays. And then Matt Stafford, versus this defense that, again, on paper should be able to, be taken advantage of. Cooper Cup versus Eli Apple. I don't think that's going to go as well for Eli Apple. So, that'll be pretty fun to watch. And, hopefully everyone who was banged up is able to come back, like CJ Uzama. I think Darrell Henderson and Andrew Whitworth was questionable, I think, last week, and, still a little banged up. So hopefully both these teams are at full strength and we're able to see some really good football. But, just very excited for Cincinnati to be here. I mean, have the opportunity to win their first Super Bowl. I mean, and again,
winnable game.
4 wins, winnable game, and 4 wins last season. So, it's just so insane that they're here, and it's a really cool story.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Andrew Whitworth. I guess that's one of my exciting things was he
Yeah,
spent the
yeah,
first 10 years of his career with the Bengals. So he's in the Super Bowl. So and especially since the Bengals haven't won a Super Bowl, haven't been in since 1988. I'm sure there's a little part of him being like, damn, I don't want to beat the Bengals to win my
yeah,
Super Bowl, but that'll be a fun storyline. But I'm needless to say, I'm definitely excited for this Super Bowl, mainly because one, it's somebody new. No matter who wins, it's going to be
yeah.
somebody new who hasn't won ever or in a very long time. Uh, as a Ravens fan, I'm happy for the Bengals, and if they win, great for them. But that's it, no more after this one. But then on the flip side, it's like, I'm happy for Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow. Just hate that he's on the Bengals and a division rival. And then on the flip side, if the Rams win, Matt Stafford wins the Super Bowl, all but would confirm a Hall of Fame career for him, which I think he's already in. But I mean, having a Super Bowl, maybe even a Super Bowl MVP, will
Uh,
definitely get you there.
that's bold, Tim. I don't know if I agree with that.
He's got the numbers.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look at that a little more in depth.
I mean, there's no denying that he has the numbers. First ballot, maybe not, but he would get in eventually. But anyways, I'm just excited. It's going to be somebody new. If it was Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, we would have been
Yeah,
like, oh, come on, could other team please win?
yeah.
Like if it was the Chiefs, 49ers, or Chiefs, Rams, probably both of us would be like, please God, like let the NFC win this one. Likewise, if it was Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers against the Bengals or the Titans, we'd be like, let's go Bengals, let's go Titans. And that's what we want. We just want somebody new, Joe. Obviously they're
That's
great
right.
teams and stuff like that, but it's like, bro, can't we just have somebody else new? Like, I don't want to watch the 49ers and Chiefs again in the Super Bowl, you know?
And Tim, if Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl, he would be the first player ever to win a national championship, a Heisman, and a Super Bowl. So,
Yeah,
he would like, if they win, he would likely be Super Bowl MVP as well.
yeah.
So, pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, sadly, it will not be Devonta Smith unless if the Bengals lose, then
We'll see what happens.
Joe's like, oh, maybe I'll change my pick to the Rams now.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, anyways, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, over in the next week, there's going to be a fun Super Bowl headlines, media day, all that stuff. So we'll talk about that. We'll catch up on all these coaching changes, and there might be a few more. Maybe Brian Flores gets exiled from the NFL. Who knows within a week? But we will return in the middle of next week to kind of do all that. And then next Saturday, we will return for our picks and our official preview of the Super Bowl. But Joey D, any final words on this Tuesday afternoon, evening, night,
Tuesday, baby. That's all I got, Tim. It's crazy that we're here. Let's watch some Pro Bowl on Sunday, right?
Yeah, who's your pick in Pro Bowl, AFC or NFC?
Eagles have had a couple of more players added to the NFC Pro Bowl
So
roster.
AFC.
Tim. We're up to 5. So yeah, no, I think I'm going AFC. I mean, the quarterbacks in the AFC are so much better. I mean, Kirk Cousins just got added in the NFC for
I
crying
don't
out
even
loud.
know who are they. I would assume Herbert.
I don't know. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember. Like, everything's changed so much since it initially came out. Like, so many people opted out or can't play. It's like, okay, like, now it's like the backup Pro Bowlers.
Well, it is
are
funny
all
that
in.
I
Like,
mentioned
I
last
don't
week
get it.
that during the divisional round, they kept promoting, saying the 88 best players are going to be playing in the Pro Bowl. Check it out. Josh Allen backed out, Lamar Jackson backed out, a couple of other guys backed out. Zero promotions of the Pro Bowl this past Sunday, which they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, we should probably stop saying the 88 best players are playing in this game. But anyway, it'll be fun, entertaining, always fun to see the skills competition and stuff. I'm going with the AFC as well. And I don't know, Justin Tucker for MVP, he'll kick an 85-yard field goal in the game. I don't
I
know.
don't know. Jake Elliott's kicking for the NFC, so
Oh,
we
hey.
finally get our matchup. I really hope they do
What?
something like some sort of kicking competition, like at the Pro Bowl.
Even if
Like
that was
I don't
just a
know if like
halftime show, like just kicking it off a tee.
exactly. You remember they used to do some events like like throwing distance for
They
quarterbacks,
still do skills
accuracy. Like
competitions,
they
but it's
still
not.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
All
it's
right, all right. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that one, Tim.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, hey, that's Joey D over there. I'm Timmy B. We'll see you next week. Go football. I don't know.
Football.
Bow.